Good morning, students. So the other day we were studying about taxonomic categories. We were studying about different taxons. Okay. So now what we'll be studying today is we'll be studying about what we call it as taxonomic aids. Okay, children, there are some people who haven't attended my previous classes. So some of you are texting me that this is going to be the first class for some of them. Okay, so just in case if this is the first class for you, what I would try to do is I would try to teach you this particular topic, taxonomic aids. Okay, and whoever is like kind of feeling left out, I will try to cover it up in a special class for you. I'll arrange a separate timing and I'll let you know your coordinators to inform you. So when they are informing, what will happen is like we can have a separate session where I will try to teach you the past portions whatever has been taught. So I can do some one or two extra sessions for you, and then like I'll try to do that thing. Okay, so that is what can be done as of now. There is no computer science class as of now, so I think computer science students will not have a class. Computer science students may leave the classroom. If you want to sit and attend biology class, I don't mind, but if you don't want to attend, you may leave. Okay, so students who are there here, I assume that it is are all biology students. How to get recorded videos of Zoom? Someone is asking me. So all these links are put up in the Learnity app. Okay, so you might have to check your Learnity ID. So there you will be given links. You can see the links there. If you are a CS student, you can leave the class. You don't have to attend biology classes. What is not clear, Devadarshan? Okay, like I'll ask and let you know in my next class. Bala Murugan, you have to ask your coordinator. There are some coordinators who are there. You ask Mr. Ranjit. Mr. Ranjit should be able to help you. Okay, people who have not opted out for biology can leave this class. This is just an exclusive biology session for people who have opted for JEE. So if students are not understanding this thing, it's still fine. Okay, so I'm going to start teaching this particular concept called as taxonomic aids. So there are some students who might not understand it, because if you are like sitting here in the first class, there are some parts of it you might not understand. So just in case if you are not understanding, it's still fine. I will try to cover up the pending topics, then you will be able to understand these concepts. Okay, just give me some time. I'll just answer your questions, how to access the videos. I'll try to get the information and I'll pass it on to you. Okay, so now let us start with the class. We'll not waste time. So the last class we studied about taxonomic categories. So we studied about species, we studied about genus, we studied about family, we studied about order, we studied about class, and then phylum, and then kingdom. We studied about all these things. We call them as the 7 categories, obligatory categories. What is the meaning of obligatory category? Something which is very essential. Okay, so we studied about the 7 categories last class. We were trying to study what these things meant. Okay, so today, so we call each of these things as taxon. Each of these things are called as taxon. So you please understand that the very important thing in biology that you need to know is that why is that we are studying about all these things. We are trying to study about all these things to classify them, and we are trying to organize the data that we are having. Okay, so it is more like you are having lots of information, and this is like grouping organisms into different categories based on similarities and dissimilarities. And also there are chances that we can find some new species of organisms. So when we are going to find new species of organisms, this framework will help us to put a particular thing into the right category. So say for example, it is like a school. Already you have classified and categorized the students inside a school. Suppose if there is a new student who is coming inside the school, they will immediately ask him which class he is belonging to, and then like what is the group that he wants, and then gradually you can like kind of sort him out into the right group. Maybe you can say that he is going to the 11th standard with electronics, or like he's going to go with 11th standard into biology, and he's going to go for JE. So then you can put him into a particular category of people, among particular category of people. So similarly here also, when we are finding a new organism, we have to classify that particular organism. We need to first identify that it is a new organism. The second thing is we have to classify that particular organism, and then we are like trying to put it into smaller groups, and then like you're giving it, that particular organism, a correct position. So if you need to do that particular thing, we need some help. We need some help in terms of existing resources. Already what is that which is there known to us? We need that data. So where can you get those things from? Those are where your taxonomic aids are coming into the picture. So the first and foremost taxonomic aid that we will be using is a herbarium. Herbarium is one type of taxonomic aid. Similarly, you have botanical gardens. Similarly, you have museums. Similarly, you have zoological parks. Similarly, you have something called as a keys. Similarly, you have something called as a catalog. Similarly, you have something called as a monograph. So all these things are taxonomical aids which will help us in knowing what is that we know already. Okay. So where can you get the information? So say for example, today you are going to find a new species. If you want to confirm whether that is a new species or not, you have to refer to one or many of these. Okay. So these taxonomic aids will help you to understand what is known about a particular organism already. So this is like kind of like whatever we know about plants and animals has been stored into these informations. Okay, so what is this thing we are going to study one by one? So first we are going to study about herbarium. What is herbarium? Herbarium is a collection of plant samples. That is dried and preserved. Okay, so let me show you some pictures, then you will understand. Are you guys able to see this pictures? So say for example, this is a herbarium. So what is that I have done here is I have kind of like dried up a plant sample and I have stuck to a paper. Okay, so similarly you see this one. You are able to see that plants are stuck. So you have taken a sample, plant sample, you have dried it and you have kept it. So here what is that we have done here is, here we have the stem, leaves and everything is like arranged and then it is pasted. It is like collection of books. Yes, you can also do. When I was a student, okay, we used to have this for practicals. So in 2003 and all, for my 12th standard board exams, so we used to do this as a practical thing. So we were given some 5 families. So we were supposed to collect some species in that particular 5 families and we have to catalog it as a file. So how do you do this particular technique? I'll try to teach you. So this is like kind of like a book kind of thing which can be done. So we are talking about individual people. So if you are going to do it only for 5 people, I mean 5 families, then it will be looking like a booklet. But imagine a country's botanical department is going to catalog all the plant varieties which it is having. That is like kind of a national herbarium which you can have. So the Indian National Herbarium is present in Kolkata. In Kolkata, there are like at least like this herbarium which is there, which is having like close to like 60 lakh species is like being cataloged. It will be like kind of kept like a huge library. So they would have cataloged it and then they would have kept it completely. So this herbarium is their national herbarium. So you can do it at a small level for your practicals, for your understanding, but you can also do it at a national level or like at an institute. Your school can also have a herbarium. So whatever plants that are there in your school can be collected and can be put into a catalog kind of thing. So with information. So what are the things that you are seeing here? So let me take this particular thing. So see, let's take a close look of this particular thing. So what is that you are able to see here? So some information about that particular plant is given. Plants of Michigan is the heading that they have given. Acer negundo is the biological name that they have given. And then they have tried to tell you where it has been collected. So some Peacock Road, it is Stall Road, some address is given. And you are able to tell it is a tree. It is 35 feet tall. Like that they have given. And some Paul B person has collected it. So like that, this particular catalog will have information about the plant also. You take this one for example. So similarly, they have stuck some paper and then they have written something. Okay, so this particular thing they have kind of collected and the information about that particular thing is given. So what is a herbarium? A herbarium is a collection of plant samples that is dried and preserved. Okay, and they will contain information about the plant name, where the sample was collected, date of collection, and then some features of the plant. All these things will be attached with it. So all these things are kept in a information. You please take this down. The collected samples are stored in or storehouse. It serves as a quick referral. So please understand that this was done sometime in 1800s. Okay, when you did not have like computers and all. So today you have computers, images, digital images, all those things are available for studying. But think of a case where like in 1800s, when you wanted to study and classify plants, they did not have any other option than to go for these kind of places. So you have like in India, I mean like the first herbarium was started in Italy. Okay, so in that there was a university where they started this particular cataloging system. Later, it started to spread to other parts of the world. Okay, in India we have in Kolkata. In Kolkata there is a huge herbarium, and even in Tamil Nadu there is this agricultural college in Coimbatore has a herbarium. Okay, so it is associated with even botanical gardens wherever you are going. So you would have gone to botanical gardens. So botanical gardens and all like will also have their own herbarium. Okay, so please copy this thing down. Then we can move to the next part. If you're done, please let me know so that I can move further. Okay, got it. The second one is what we call it as botanical gardens. What is repository? That's what I have told, storehouse. The meaning of repository is like kind of a storehouse where something is kept. So what is botanical gardens? Botanical gardens are the gardens where you will go. So say for example, if you're going to some kind of hill station, you might have gone to some kind of botanical gardens. So there are some botanical gardens around all around things. Yeah, you have it in Sikkim, even in Ooty, Kodaikanal kind of places. You will have like botanical gardens. Okay. Yeah, in Lal Bagh you have botanical garden is there. Bengaluru. Yeah, right. So like that, you have like different places will have botanical gardens. What is this botanical garden? It is a place where they will try to grow lots of plants. Okay. it is like kind of a open area. Okay, it is an open area where they will kind of grow plants. Yeah, Coorg also somewhere. I don't know. I don't remember going in. Yeah, it's like kind of a plant zoo. Correct. Botanical garden is like a place where you have like lots of plants are grown. Okay, along with the information about the plants. So, what is this botanical garden is there for? They are specialized gardens. Okay, they have collection of living samples for reference. These plants are grown for identification purpose. The plants are labeled. They are labeled with the scientific name, also common name. Okay, so name is given for their purposes, study purposes. Okay, so you have to know that the biggest botanical garden is the Royal Botanical Gardens in Kew in England. Okay, so yeah, like Ooty and all, you have botanical gardens the same way only it is. But the largest one is like there in England in the world. This is belonging to the thing. I mean, like the Queen of England. So she is the authority for this thing. So similarly, in India, you have your Indian Botanical Garden in Kolkata. Howrah in India. Okay, so similarly, there is also one more in National Research Institute in Lucknow. So these are the ones which are there in India. There are many in India, but the popular ones and the biggest ones are these. Okay, so this is what is botanical garden is for. Botanical garden will be specialized garden where you are growing plants for reference purpose. So if you want to go and see some botanical garden, you will get information about some plants there. These plants are mainly grown for identification purpose. They are named and labeled. So some examples are given. If you guys are done, we can move further. Tell me if you are done so that I can proceed further. The next one is museum. You have something called as a biological museum. So the normal museums that you know is different, totally different. Okay. Some children are not done. So you want me to go to the previous slide? Quickly write. Hey guys, tell me once you are done, then only I can move. No. There are some students who have there. Tarun Kumar, are you done? Nisarga. Okay. So you have museums. Normally you would study about history in museums. So here we are talking not only about the normal museum, but we are talking about the biological museum. Okay. Biological museums are set up in schools, colleges, educational institutes will have it usually. Okay. So they are set up in schools, colleges, or universities. They will have preserved samples. They'll have preserved specimens of plants as well as animals. Yeah, like you have your in your biology lab, you will have a frog and all. So like that, they will have preserved specimens. But whatever you will have in your school lab will be very less. Whatever I'm talking about, these kind of museums will have like many species. It's not like smaller ones. So that is like whatever that blue color liquid is nothing but ammonia or formaldehyde. Usually formaldehyde is used. Formaldehyde or formalin is used as a preservative, the one which is there in the laboratory. Okay. So specimens are stored in containers that contain that has preservatives such as formalin. Okay. They might also have dry specimens. So insects are kept in insect boxes. Please understand that museums, you will not have anything living at all. Museums will have only dead organisms. So they are all preserved species. So if you are going to talk about an aquarium is a totally different kind of a place. So you will have only preserved specimen in a museum. So you have zoological parks for it. You have aquariums for it. You have botanical gardens are there for living samples. But whenever we are talking about museum, a museum has to essentially be a collection of dead organisms with information. Larger animals are stuffed and preserved. So museums will also have skeletons also. Okay. If you guys are done, tell me so that I can proceed. So we have completed herbarium, we have completed botanical gardens, we have completed museums. Okay. Now we'll go to the next part, which is your zoological parks. Okay, there is nothing in Egyptian tombs as such. Okay, so whatever that you are talking about Egyptian tombs, someone wants me to tell are Egyptian tombs museums. So now what you have to know is in Egypt you have pyramids, and those pyramids contain nothing now. So even the pyramid of Giza is like not having anything preserved inside. So whatever has been excavated there has been taken to the Egyptian museum. So in Egyptian museum, yeah, you have like mostly it is like a historical fact. So you have information about the people who were there and the scriptures and the kind of like things that has been excavated from the archaeological thing. So there is a particular section where you have mummies preserved. Okay, so those mummies wherever it is preserved in that museum, though that part alone you can consider it as biological, because they have just preserved your mummies of human beings, of the kings and queens, and they also have some animals which are mummified, like crocodile is there, cat is there. Okay, these two things are there. So these two things are kind of preserved in the tombs of not in the tombs, in the museum of Egypt. The Egypt National Museum has those things. So you cannot call it as 100% biological museum. Okay. So it is not a 100% biological museum. It is like kind of like majority. It is a historical museum in which some parts are biological. So an exclusive biological museum will contain only what? It will contain only information about plants and animals. Those museums are only we can be used as what a reference for biological studies or taxonomical studies, because biological museums will have information on scientific name, morphological features, and anatomical features. So it will try to give information on morphology. It will try to give information on anatomy of organisms. So those kind of information will be there. So someone is asking me, is there a museum in India, biological museum in India? Yes, we have biological museum in India. So the biological museum in India that you have to know is National Museum of Natural History in Delhi. So this is like concerned only with the animals and plants. Similarly, you have the Forest Museum in Andaman. Okay, these two are the popular ones and bigger ones. Tamil Nadu is also having, I'm not sure about the location, but the two bigger ones in India are these: the National Museum of Natural History in Delhi and Forest Museum in Andaman. These two are the biggest ones. They have exclusively only about plants and animals. Okay, moving to next one. You have one in London. The London one is the biggest one. Please understand that the biggest museums and things related to biology are all located in London or Italy. Because the English people only have been like given spent lots of money on researching all these things. Most of the naturalists are like from the European continent. So you know what are zoological parks? Places where animals are kept alive. And conserved. Animals are held as captives and are protected. Zoos help us to learn about behavior. Okay, it is the area which it will provide information about the species. You might have gone to this zoos, the Banneraghatta zoo is there, and then like you have Vandalur zoo is there. So like that Mysore zoo is there. Like you have like multiple places are there. Okay, zoological parks are the parks where you will have information about it. Actually, national parks and wildlife sanctuary will also fall under this category, but just that like you cannot study like what you do it in zoos. Okay, so what is the basic difference is like you can go and observe and come in a natural park or a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, but there you will not have any categorized information for learning. So in a zoological park, you will have information about those species. So say for example, if you are like visiting a tiger's cage, you will be like learning that the scientific name of that particular animal is tiger, Panthera, tigris. You will know that it belongs to Felidae. Those kind of information will be provided to you. But in a natural setup, in a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, it is just an area where it is conserved. It is living in its own habitat. Maybe you will learn things. You can learn things and then categorize them, and then you can find it. But in case of a zoological park, it is kind of like protected for study. Zoos play an important role whenever a species is endangered. So, say for example, if there is a problem with the living of some particular organism, you can capture them, and then you can protect them. You can allow them to breed. So you can feed them, you can vaccinate them. Like that, you can kind of protect it, and then like you can, after you get a considerable number of individuals, you can leave it back to the wild. So like that, you can do. So that is the purpose of zoos. So zoos will be there for both protection as well as for study. So moving on further, we will go to the next topic, which is key, which is the important part in this particular taxonomical aids. So we have completed zoological parks also. The next part is the important part, the keys, which is a tool. Okay, first let me explain what is a key. So key is a taxonomical aid that helps us to identify organism. Karthik Balaji, I will show you the slide towards the end. You can just copy it out at that time. We just have limited time. I just have to complete this particular topic also today. So taxonomical aid that helps us to identify organisms. Keys usually are statements. Are two statements that are contrasting. Okay, so first let me explain, then I will start to write something, so then you will understand it better. So what is this key? This key is something which is going to help me to find a particular species. So say for example that I'm having mango in my hand. I want to know that whether it is mango or not. Okay, what I can do is I can try to use a key to identify it. So say for example, I am finding a fruit which is resembling mango. I just want to confirm whether this is mango or not. Okay, so I have a doubt that this can be a new species altogether. While one of my friend is trying to tell me, no, this is like kind of this is mango only. So in such kind of situations, a key can be like kind of helpful. A key would essentially be produced who has studied mango very detailedly. So say for example, there are taxonomists who would have studied about a particular species. So those people would have prepared something called as a key. So what is this key will have? This key will have two statements which are called as lead statements. Two leads will be there. There is a key will be there. Let us say that this is key 1. This key 1 will have a lead 1 and it will have a lead 2. Okay, this lead 1 and this lead 2 will be kind of what it will be contrasting in nature. They will be opposites, or like they will be like kind of like polar. Basically polar means like something which is opposite in nature. So let me give you an example so that you will understand. Okay, so let me say that the first key is like this: the organism is autotroph. This is the first statement, first lead. The lead 2 would essentially be the organism is heterotroph. If the answer is yes for this thing, it would be there. S. If yes, go to key 7. They might have given. If the answer is yes for this thing, go to key 2. Like that, they would have given some direction. So you will have a second statement which is K2. Similarly, you will have which will have two leads. Similarly, you will have K3, key 3, which will have some two alternatives. So similarly, you will have a key 7, which will have two alternatives. Okay, so I was trying to tell about mango. So you have to know first, if it is a autotroph, you can confirm that it is belonging to the plant kingdom. If it is a heterotroph, this will take you to the animal kingdom. Okay, from there, like, okay, if the answer is autotroph, then they will try to ask you some question further. Okay, whether it is having a differentiated body or undifferentiated. If it is undifferentiated, it will take me to the algae. If it is differentiated, it will try to ask me one further question. So asking me whether it is having xylem present or xylem absent. If xylem is absent, it will take me to bryophyta. If suppose xylem is present, I am going to give the answer. It will try to take me to the next question, which will try to ask me two questions again. Whether seed is present, seed is absent. If I am going to say seed is absent, it will take me to pteridophyta. So if seed is present, in that case, it will take me to a next question, whether it is open seeded or closed seeded. If I'm going to say it is open seeded, it will take me to gymnosperms. If I'm going to say closed seed, it will ask me a question whether one cotyledon is present or two cotyledon is present. So if I'm going to say two cotyledon, it will take me to dicot. If I'm going to say one cotyledon, it will take me to monocot. So like this, I have a series of couplets. So each key will be a couplet where there are two leads. So answering those questions will help me to identify a particular organism. So similarly, if I'm going to talk about an animal, it will first, if I'm going to say if it is a heterotroph, it will take me to animal kingdom. Inside animal kingdom, it will ask me whether it is having a notochord or no. If I'm going to say notochord is present, it will take me to chordata. Inside that chordata, if I'm going to ask you whether it will give birth to young ones or it is going to lay eggs, I can ask a question like that. If I'm going to say it is giving birth, or if I'm going to say viviparous, then in that case, what will happen? If it will take me to mammalia. Inside Mammalia, it will try to ask me whether it is a herbivore or a carnivore. Like that, I'll have multiple options. Basically, what you need to understand is inside carnivore, it will take me to whether it is more like a dog or a cat, I can ask. If I'm going to say it is cat, then it will try to ask me whether it will look more like a lion or more like a cat. Then in this will take me to Panthera. This will take me to Felis. Like that, yeah, keys are analytical reasons. So it is like kind of logically it is trying to take you. It is a taxonomical aid which is kind of giving you information on a particular thing, organism. So a key is essentially something, it is like a statement which will help you to analyze a particular organism and identify a particular organism. Keys are prepared by scientists who have studied that organism very detailedly. Let us say Carolus Linnaeus studied mostly about Mangifera indica, he would have prepared a key. So if someone wants to confirm whether something is mango or not, they should refer to the key produced by the person who studied it in detail. So like that, there are keys which are available which will help me to identify a particular organism. So that is what you need to understand. So please understand that key is a very analytical tool and the most important taxonomical tool. Okay, so key will contain two statements that are contrasting in nature called as couplets. Each statement of the couplet is called lead. Keys are prepared by a botanist or zoologist who studied a species. Keys are analytical in nature. So please understand that while you're identifying, you will usually affirm something and you will reject something. Okay, Mohit, I did not talk, I was just writing. So while identification, you please understand that if you are affirming one statement, naturally it will lead to the rejection of another statement. So that is how you have to prepare a key. While you are preparing a key, you have to prepare it in such a way. The moment you are going to say that it is an autotroph, you have to reject heterotroph. That kind of key only should be made. Okay, it should not overlap. That is what I'm trying to tell. So this is what is key. So I just have 4 minutes left. I'll just quickly complete the other two also. The other two are very simple. You have two things. What is catalog? And the other one is what we call it as manual. Sorry, not manual. Monograph. Okay. Catalogs and monographs are detailed accounts. Detailed information of flora and fauna of a geographical location. Say for example, I am a botanist. I can say, I can kind of like give you a detailed information about Trichy. I can create a detailed information about Bangalore. So I can say all the species of flora present in catalog of all the flora found in Bangalore. Or I can say catalog of all the fauna present in Mysore. Or I can say catalog of all the flora present in say New York. Like that, I can try to catalog something. A catalog will have all the information about the organisms present in a particular geographical location. Whenever I'm talking about catalog, what is more specific is it is the location. Whereas in case of a monograph, it contains detailed information on a particular taxon. So here the emphasis is to taxon. So say for example, I can have a monograph on Leo, which is only about lion. I can have a particular detailed information on sapiens, which is going to talk only about humans. I can also talk about a monograph on Homo, which is like talking about all the Homo families, all the Homo species. So say for example, you have sapiens, you have Neanderthals, you have habilis, like that, you have all those things. So a monograph will be like particular taxon. You can talk only about one family, cat family. You can talk only about dog family, or you can also talk about only one genus, or you can talk only about one species. So it can be anything, but you will give a very detailed information on that particular thing. Then we call it as a monograph. So catalog is more emphasizing on a geographical location where you will give information about flora and fauna. And monograph is more about the taxon. You guys know what is flora and fauna, right? If you don't know, flora means all plants in a location. Fauna means all animals. Okay, so this is what it is. With this thing, we are completing the taxonomical aids. Now what I am going to do is, we have completed all the things. I am going to show you from first slide to the last slide, and we'll wrap up the class. First, it is an introduction slide where I have given you all the things that we are going to see today. So we have seen all these things today. The second slide, we are talking about herbarium. I also showed you how a herbarium will look like. The third slide on botanical gardens. The fourth slide on museums. The fifth slide on zoological parks. The sixth slide on key. The seventh slide, just an information. I mean, like I just explained. Eighth also I just explained, nothing informative. I mean, like as in like just nothing, no points written. The ninth slide is on catalog and monograph. if it is only for the board exams, I would suggest only the CBSE textbook. That is more than sufficient. Okay. So if you are going to prepare for NEET, and then like if you're going to give competitive examinations, there are some textbooks like Truman publication is there, which is too extensive. But you also have certain other books like Bhatia. So you have lots of guides are there nowadays for this NEET entrance and all. You can also buy ISC books. ISC books for 11th and 12th standard will be very good for competitive examination. If you are in KNMS, you will be provided with material, so don't worry about it. Okay, children, thank you very much. So this is a thing. Okay, if you are in EDU 11, I'll just see what is the book, and then I'll let you know in the next class. Next class, we can talk about it. As of now, I think, I mean, like this book should be fine. CBSE textbook should be fine. If you want something more, I'll try to give. You'll be given books, man. Don't worry about it. Thank you, children.